All right, let's get right into it. We're going to go on a little diagnostic journey deep inside your computer's operating system to hunt down two of the biggest reasons your PC just completely freezes up. Now, on the surface, they might look kind of similar, but trust me, they are totally different beasts.
You know the feeling, right? That moment of pure frustration when your machine just gives up. You see that endless loading bar, the cursor is just stuck, and you can't click on anything. The whole system has ground to a halt.
So what is really going on under the hood? It's usually not just some random bug. More often than not, it's one of two very specific problems that have pushed your OS right to the breaking point. So yeah, let's put on our detective hats and figure this out.
All right, here they are, our two main suspects. On one side, you've got thrashing. Think of it like frantic but useless busywork. It's a performance problem. And on the other side, deadlock. This is where things are just stuck solid. It's a pure logic problem. So let's crack open the case file on thrashing first.
Okay, first up, thrashing. And yeah, the performance nightmare is the perfect way to describe it, because that is exactly what's happening. Your computer is technically working. I mean, it's really working hard, but it's doing it so badly that it's basically useless.
You know, the best way to get this is with an analogy. Picture this. You've got a tiny little desk, but you're trying to study for 5 different classes at once. You spend all your energy just shuffling books and papers around, trying to find what you need. You're not actually studying anything. And that, right there, is exactly what your computer is doing when it's thrashing.
Okay, so here's the more technical breakdown. It all comes down to one word, swapping. So you've got your super fast memory, the RAM, and your slower storage, the hard drive. When the fast RAM gets crowded, the operating system starts moving little chunks of data, they're called pages, over to the slow disk to make room. Thrashing is what happens when that swapping process just goes completely haywire, and it's pretty much the only thing the computer has time to do.
So how do we get into this mess? Well, it's a total chain reaction. It starts with you trying to run too much stuff at once, and your RAM just can't handle it. This causes what are called page faults all the time. That's basically the CPU going, hey, I need this piece of info, but it's not in the fast RAM, so it has to go digging for it on the slow disk. The OS just starts panicking, swapping stuff back and forth like crazy, and boom, your whole system's performance just tanks.
So how can you spot this happening? Well, yeah, your programs are super slow, obviously. But here's the weird part, the big clue. Your CPU usage is actually low. I know, it sounds crazy, right? But your processor isn't busy calculating anything. It's just waiting for the slow hard disk to fetch the data it needs. That's why the little light on your computer for the disk is just blinking like mad. That's where all the action is.
Okay, so that's thrashing. Let's put that file away and pick up our second one, deadlock. Now this is a whole different ballgame. This isn't about your computer working too hard. This is about it being logically, totally, 100% stuck.
And the perfect way to think about this is a traffic jam, a really bad one. Imagine a 4-way intersection where every single car is waiting for the other car to go. Nobody can move. They're all just stuck, pointing at each other.
So here's the official definition, and the two most important words here are blocked forever. See, with thrashing, your computer is just crazy slow. But with a deadlock, those programs are done. They are never, ever going to finish. They're just frozen solid, waiting for something that's never going to become available.
You might be wondering, how does something like that even happen? Well, it's not a fluke. A deadlock can only happen if 4, and it has to be all 4, specific things are true at the very same time. Think of them like the 4 pieces of evidence you need to prove the case. Let's walk through them.
First up, you need what's called mutual exclusion. All this means is that some things can only be used by one process at a time. A printer is the classic example, right? You can't have 2 different documents printing on the same printer at the same instant. One has to wait. So that's piece number 1. Okay, number 2 is hold and wait. This is where a process gets a little greedy. It's already got its hands on one thing. Say it has a file lockdown. But now it wants something else like the printer. And it's not going to let go of that file until it gets what it wants.
Third condition, no preemption. Basically, this means the OS can't just step in and play referee. It can't force a process to give up a resource. It can't just say, hey, your turn is up, give me that file. The process has to release it willingly, no takebacks.
And the last piece of the puzzle, the one that locks everything into place, is circular wait. This is our traffic jam.
Process A is waiting for something process B has, but process B is waiting for something process A has. They're stuck in this fatal loop, and when you have the other three conditions, there is absolutely no way out.
And here's a great visual of that. You can see how that loop gets created. Process P1 has resource R2, but it's waiting for R1. Meanwhile, process P2 has R1, but it's waiting for R2. See? They're just pointing at each other, stuck forever. That's a deadlock in a picture.
All right, so we've identified the problems. That's great, but how do we fix them? Well, modern operating systems are pretty clever, and they have some really smart ways to handle both of these situations. So let's see how they do it.
When it comes to fighting thrashing, it's really all about managing memory better. I mean, the easiest fix is just buy more RAM. But the OS can be a lot smarter than that. It can carefully decide who gets memory and how much, or even pause some background programs if things get too crowded.
Now, deadlock is a bit trickier. The strategies usually fall into two main groups: prevention and avoidance. Prevention is like making a rule so strict that one of those four conditions just can't ever happen, period. Avoidance is more like being really cautious. It's like saying, okay, the conditions could happen, but I'm going to check every single request for a resource to make sure it won't put us on a path to a deadlock.
And this whole idea of avoidance relies on something called a safe state. A system is in a safe state if the operating system can look at everything that's going on and figure out at least one order to run all the programs that guarantees nobody gets stuck. As long as it can find that one safe path, it knows a deadlock is impossible right now.
And the most famous tool for doing this is called the banker's algorithm. And it's called that for a reason. It works just like a banker who won't give out a loan unless they know for sure they can still cover all their other customers' needs. The OS is the banker, the resources are the money, and it will never approve a request if it thinks it might lead to trouble.
Okay, let's wrap this up with a quick side-by-side. So the problem type, thrashing is all about performance, deadlock is all about logic. The root cause, for thrashing, it's too much memory swapping. For deadlock, it's that circular wait. What's the system doing? In thrashing, it's super slow, but it's doing something. In deadlock, it's just frozen. And the fix? For thrashing, manage your memory better. For deadlock, you've got to prevent those conditions or use a smart avoidance algorithm.
So I'll leave you with this one question. Now that you know the difference, which one do you think is actually worse? A computer that's painfully, agonizingly slow, but still moving? Or one that's just completely, totally stuck and needs to be restarted? It's a really interesting question, and it's something OS designers have to think about all the time.